first off, I'm Becky Russell. I work alongside our Growing Readers Together, our early literacy youth consultant, Kate Brunner, who is in a workshop today. I'm doing some part-time work for her. My name is Becky Russell. And I just want to quickly let those of you who don't know about the Growing Readers Together, which sometimes we say GRT as the acronym, our focus in GRT is to support library professionals who are developing service for our informal family, friend, and neighbor caregivers of young children in their communities. And we are doing quick bites every couple of weeks and have been for about the last 7 years. This year's focus is to highlight early literacy topics and work of how different grantees, people who've gotten this grant, of which Polly is one, are hosting some of what they've done with their Growing Readers Together funding. And today's special guest is Polly Gallagher, who is director of Grand County Library District. And Polly is going to, in this part I am going to read, she's going to be highlighting the her library district's use of the Growing Readers Together funds in offering intentional early literacy programming and how they incorporated outdoors in programming, also based with community feedback, which I just love a lot of those words, hot Polly. So if you're ready, take her away.
Oh, thanks so much, Becky. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And thanks for having me. And shout out to everyone. Beth, great to see you. So glad to have you join us. As you mentioned, I'm Polly Gallagher with Grand County Library District. Oops, and why? Now it's not turning. There we go. And with that, we have 5 libraries in our library district: Fraser Valley, Granby, Hot Sulphur Springs, Kremling, and Grand Lake, Juniper Library in Grand Lake. And with that today, just like to share with you a little bit about the successes or things that we've learned from our years of participating in Growing Readers Together, GRT, as well as using the outdoors as an extension of the library. So in taking a look just at Grand County, I need to explain a little bit about our county, our library, in order for us to go forward. And if you take a look, there's these red dots that come up to the shape, which is the county of Grand. We're about the same size as the state of Rhode Island, and we're spread all over. And a big part of our community is outdoors. People live here for the outdoors. We have Winter Park Ski Resort, which is on our far eastern side, Ski Granby Ranch, Rocky Mountain National Park with those moose, that's up on the northern side of our county. Hot Sulphur Springs is in the middle, and as you go out to Kremling, you have what's referred to as the Hunter's Paradise of Kremling. So outdoors, outdoors, outdoors is a key part. And like much of Colorado, small, as large as our county is, we only have about 15,000 people. And there is such a tremendous shortage of childcare providers in our county. Wait lists are in the hundreds for the few locations that we have. Workforce granting entities focus on early childhood. We have a variety of towns that provide funds to local childcare providers in order to help ensure cost of living adjustments can happen. It really is a crisis. And so like my family did, like many families did, families split their work time so that therefore they have the childcare. Friends trade off and grandparents are key. And I actually just want to show you, this is Nora. I'm an FFN. Nora is my daughter's best friend's 2-year-old. And with it, Nora's grandparents went to Italy on holiday for a few weeks. And unfortunately, Nora's childcare provider shut down for a couple weeks for illness and then vacation. And so suddenly there was nobody to watch Nora. And I received a call, hey, can you come help me? And I don't have any children's toys sitting around at home anymore. And it was last minute, so it's not like I could run to the library to just grab some things. So we had to come up with some other ideas. And I joke that Nora is now our head of research and development for the under 5 sector. And she's playing with a Tony box there, which if you haven't heard of, Tony box is it's like a speaker box. And on top of that Tony box, the red box, you can see Curious George. You download the stories, about 45 minutes worth of stories, songs, and activities onto to that little figurine that George, and then when a child or anyone puts the figurine onto the Tony box, it starts playing the story. And when you take it off, it stops and you put it back on and it starts where it was, which is awesome. So anyway, so there's our head of R&D for under five. That's how we cover, that's what FFNs do, right, in our community. So in taking a look at the last 5 years, the first time we got our Growing Readers Together grant, we did a Meet the Expert series. And we focused in one of our libraries, Granby, and each month a different entity within the community. So we had a reading specialist who came and talked about reading. We had somebody from our local early education council, Grand Beginnings, came and talked about writing, fine motor skills. We had local Zumba ladies come in and do Zumba for play. So we had different experts that came in and modeled ideas and basically led our story time and incorporated the different components of reading literacy or reading acquisition. It was fantastic. We wanted to continue it the second year, but of course, COVID, yay. So we pivoted and then we switched to drive-through resource fair. There's a picture on the left. And with the drive-through resource fair, we worked with a variety of other providers and people would come through and the items that we would distribute at the Meet the Experts, we would have an expert, we would have the librarians, and they would talk with the caregivers as they came through and provided them with those resources. We then started following the school readiness work that was done through the state library in California, and then the state library did a lot of trainings on. We started an Explorers program, which was an age-specific math science story time. And then that got us really into sensory-based items. And we've made sure to expand our sensory items that we have that can be used both inside and outside. So that little table there, that's something that can go out in the sun. It's intended to be out in rain, all sorts of different weather, but it's on wheels. So when the snow is high, we can go ahead and pull it into our libraries. All of this is to say that our primary focus has really changed and been far more intentional. It used to be that pre-Growing Readers Together, our focus and our expertise was on connecting people to the library. We were trying to bring people in, have fun, have a good time, and oh, look, you just happen to be at the library. How about you go and check out our resources? Now it's really changed with intentional inclusion, modeling skills, engaging children and caregivers, not having us there to entertain the children, but really support the caregivers and being part of school readiness. So let's take a look. Oop, my cursor keeps, what we did. And this one is our Explorers program. Northwest Council of Governments, which basically is a oversight agency, support agency that goes all the way from the Continental Divide to the Utah border and I-70 north up to Wyoming. They did a study in regards to the childcare crisis and asked the parents why it is that they are in Greene County or what do they want for their children in childcare and in support. And their key response that came out of that was, we move here for the outdoors. We want our kids to be outdoors. They'll be in desks at school, blah, blah, blah. We want them to explore and see what is out and around. And with that in mind, we took the resources on the Bay Area Discovery Museum and looked at what would be age appropriate for 3 to 5 year olds that would work well in our libraries in our community. And we created a database of about 20 activities. And with that database, we used Growing Reader Together funds in order to pull resources and books. And with that, we then go on different adventures targeted to 3 to 5 year olds throughout our neighborhoods that our libraries are in. The picture you see here, these ones are at our Fraser Valley Library, which is located in Fraser. the Fraser River goes through and connects to the headwaters of the Colorado River. It's absolutely beautiful. And we at our library have this tiny little pinpoint corner where those couple of ants are. And we're able to access the river on a little walking trail. And more, this walking trail that started off as our explorers trail has become very popular. We've put in a dog library now where you can go and check out from the box frisbees, the chuckets, different balls and things like that. And it's become a well-used path that people have that goes around our library. And we're looking at how can we make this space better for both the presenters and what more can we do out in this space. Our Fraser Valley Library does have a meeting room, and ever since we removed the registration fees for the meeting room, the usage on it has gone out the roof. We're talking 3-4 reservations a day. And the consideration was, wow, we have such beautiful weather in Greene County in the summertime. Like, why are we doing story time inside a meeting room? How can we shift it? And when we do it in the meeting room, people aren't brought into the main library space. So they're not going through the children's space. So what could we do there? We had heard rumors that it might be the last year of Going Readers Together funds. So we decided in 2024, we needed to go big, right? And what we took a look at is here is our children's space. And on the far side, you can see those beautiful windows. Those beautiful windows look out onto what we put in as an amphitheater. And with that amphitheater, it's what we can use for our any sort of story time or outdoor programming. What you can't see is that people now come through the library, turn right at our hold shelf there before they hit that little round table, and they head towards the abacus. And that space by the windows has rocking chairs, there's rugs, there's bean bags, there's all sorts of manipulatives that our Early Education Council, Growing Readers Together Foundation and Friends have contributed. So we have all sorts of different play activities that we have there. And just to the right of that fire hydrant, there's a door. And that's the door that you head outside to what we were attempting to do as far as a usable space. I'm just gonna take a moment there. So in looking at this, that outdoor classroom space. I hate to use the word classroom, but at our Fraser Valley Library, we wanted to really make sure we were accentuating talk, play, body, brain, math, science, the outdoor environment, all of these components, all of these pieces, and also caregiver-child interaction. This space that we put in for would be the base for that Explorers program that at Fraser Valley, the outdoors, where we're going out down to the river, doing nature hunts, doing a variety of different activities. And additionally, we have some caregivers in our community who've expressed a concern about bringing young children into story time. We don't separate out, we don't have the population to do a baby and me story time or a toddler story time. So we have anywhere from 0 to 8-year-olds that come to our story time. So it's a real wide range and a lot of new parents, a lot of caregivers that don't generally care for a child on a regular basis. Some of those emergency FFNs, they've commented that, oh, they're nervous to bring the child in case they scream or yell, or in case they want to run around or something like that. So what we did is that door that went out from the library, our plan, this is what our plan, right? Our plan was to use stone or wood stumps. We have a lot of beetle kill, so could do some wood pieces out to the door and create a multi-tier amphitheater using what we already had from an elevation shift. And then down at the bottom, have a stage area where we could have manipulatives, we could have the whatever, depending on what was happening for the event. We wanted to keep the a low profile, so 12-inch high for the seats so that it was really focused, very child-centric. And for those kids that like to run around or need that sensory component, we thought this might be a great way to put in some tactile octagon stepping stones with different times of the year, have pine cones in, have sand in, have water in. So something along those lines. So that was our dream. And with it, we would use it for hosting early literacy programs. We'd use it for our explorers programs, all sorts of different things that we could do with it. And instead, got a little tweaked, right? So this is what we ended up with. And it is a beautiful space. We have a variety of sized stones that are used. We had to shift our location a little bit from what we wanted in order to make sure that the sun was not directly in the line of sight for either the children participating, the caregivers with them, or for the presenter. So we did kind of a 90-degree turn there. And then the other piece to it, we ended up having to cut back the size a little because the cost ended up being quite high. Trying to get contractors, Greene County is going through such a housing boom, continuing to go through a housing boom, and we're far enough away from the Front Range that bringing people up from the Front Range to do the work, that has different cost factors in. So we really did end up cutting our size down in half for what we had initially wanted, as well as not doing the full stage space and tactile area that we had planned. But even with that, we did get the comment from a grandparent who comes with her grandson. And the response was that he typically has a really hard time settling down and is very distracted when they've come to story time inside. And she just felt that her grandson did so much better when he was outside in nature. He seemed focused, he was listening better, and he just really seemed to enjoy that outdoor setting. So far, we've had a good response on just this small little space. And we've used it. We've used it a lot. It gets used several times a month. And now we're finding several times a week. And now we're finding that children after school are coming over and they'll come into the library, go outside through the door. So they're coming through the library, hang out in the amphitheater, lie down on the rocks. And then as the weather starts to get a little colder, they'll go back in and start pulling books and resources and things like that. Used to be they did a direct line to the computers. So it's just that nice little variation there. So things we learned. Always good things to learn, right? So number one, any sort of construction costs 3 times more than the expected. I think that, and you just have to make that decision. So we've actually set aside some funds next year in our budget to put in a larger stone to use as a table space so that kids can do some of the tactile activities down there. We have funds set aside that we've to put in small tactile containers to embed them within that so that we have that. Second item, we were so focused on this as a child space, and looking at grandparents who come, that 12-inch seat height really is uncomfortable for our older adults. So we're just trying to figure out what to do because initially the thought was, okay, we're part of that Trex Recycle Bench program our local Rotary Club is. So all our Ingram orders that come in plastic, we give to Rotary, they submit it to Trex and we get Trex benches. Yay, it's great. We thought, okay, we'll put 3 benches across the back. But then we're going back to that old model of the adults are behind and we're entertaining the kids and we want to keep the adults engaged. So we're just thinking about what we can do as we expand that amphitheater to maybe have different sized rocks that older people might find more comfortable and easier to access. And then the third one as part of our kickoff on this, we gave out books. We kind of played with the whole uh, one for what was the book? One book for Colorado idea, and had a grand four book. But we wanted to do a kickoff event. And with that kickoff event for the amphitheater, we went through and we got some English books, we got some Spanish books, and then we ended up having some extras of some and not enough of the other. So when we got additional books to use as attractants and drawing people out there and events that we had, we ended up getting, let me see if I can grab this. A book that has it's we've got the whole world in our hands, and in this one it does Spanish and English, and from a cost side, and also in speaking with the caregivers that came, they really appreciated having the two languages available in one book, just because then we could just distribute all of them. It doesn't matter who it's going to. So those were kind of our key takeaways as we went through this process. As I said, we've still got more to do, but already it's being used primarily for our early literacy programming, but kids have found it as well, and they enjoy it, that area as a quiet outdoor space. Okay, and so with that, happy to take any questions people might have as I run through. I talk very quickly, sorry.
Oh, it's all great. I mean, Polly, I'm just like, I was always intrigued by what the blurb you sent, and the words intentional and community feedback really resonated with me at the outset. And it is so clear that everything that you have done. And I also had put in the chat, like if anybody had questions or anything. So gosh, it's just amazing. Any comments or anything, feel free to unmute or put in the chat. Because I've been kind of monitoring it on the side, and we have gotten lots of great, like, wow, love the dog library.
And that actually, you beg, borrow, and steal from everyone. So Summit, one of their libraries, they have somebody who's really dog focused, so they have a dog library. And sadly, one of our library staff members, their pooch of 18 years passed away, and he's an artist, so he ended up building a dog library as a memorial for his dog. And it's just been great. On Sundays, our libraries aren't open. Well, Fraser Valley Library isn't open on Sunday. So I go down, grab the newspaper, sit on the bench, and then I watch all the people who come by and take their dogs for a walk around the library, and just chatting with people. It's really lovely.
It's awesome. And that outdoor space, that's another thing several people commented on, the beautiful outdoor space you created. And I also was hearing, how you were intentional about repurposing, like with beetle kill and stuff like that. That is important in our state. And I don't know about other states that have joined us, because I know we have some people from around Colorado and also from Texas.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to really welcome everyone for that. And Beth Christ also pointed out a couple of great things, like the lessons have excellent points. And
I will, one of the items I didn't mention is ADA compatibility and accessibility. So the trail that's kind of been carved out, it is wheelchair accessible. And from that, you can come around to the bottom, where that first tier is, with a wheelchair. Another component to keep in mind is oxygen tanks, and making sure that in people who have like the little oxygen tanks on wheels, it does get a little rough, but making sure that the turns are clear and easy for oxygen tanks, something to keep in mind with grandparents in particular, and the altitude.
yeah, for sure. The altitude. I always forget about that, because I know when I first moved to Colorado, I thought,
Yeah.
I think I tried to climb a 13er shortly after I moved
Yeah.
there. Not the wisest choice in the entire world. Yeah, and the other thing I did want to I'm still not seeing any questions. So again, feel free to unmute or put in chat and override me. But I've been so inspired by the space. And these are recorded for everyone who's joining us. We do share the recording afterward. And I notice Misty from Silverton is joined us today too. And I'm telling you, I have just learned so much about the wonderful things you all have done, especially the last two with spaces. That's been the two I've been able to honored to co-facilitate or co-moderate. But yeah, and we have Beth here who's saying you're serving your community so well, as always. And thanks. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say, so we're doing this outdoor space at all of our libraries where we can. And in one of them, we're actually just tearing down an old brick wall that used to be around an outdoor patio space that was unused and putting in planters. And Kate shared with me a wonderful idea out of Lions, where they have a sensory children's garden in their planters. And so that's what we're looking at for next year over at Granby Library. We got a lot of tactile outdoor equipment that can go inside and outside. So that's what we use that patio space for now. And different plants that kids can touch, smell, even taste. So that kind of highlights and tantalizes all the senses. So we're really trying to work on a lot of that sensory items with our outdoor areas.
That's awesome. And selfishly, I'm taking some of these ideas. I just got hired at Denver Public Library as a librarian on call. And I'm like, I just want to tell everybody whenever branch I show up, guess what? So yeah, and gosh, it's just awesome. And as Christine Krieger has let everyone know too, I hope you all are seeing the chat. We will be emailing out the archive tomorrow. Or she will be. And yeah, if I'm not seeing any questions. So if there aren't, we are almost at time anyhow. It is 12:29. I can't believe that already. This day has flown by and it's just been lovely. Holly or Pop, I'm sorry, I said Holly. I meant a Holly this morning. So I'm getting my H's and my P's mixed up. But Polly, thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
And thank you, and thanks very much for the state and for the partners for growing readers together. It truly made a community impact. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And to all of the rest of you who joined us today, I'm wishing all of you a wonderful, well, almost weekend ahead. Woohoo.
There we go. Sounds
Woohoo.
good.
Yeah, and we're getting a lot of good feedback too about the wonderful ideas. So thanks again, Polly.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a great one, everyone.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.